What is going on, everybody, and welcome to episode 53. I'm your host, Marcus, and in this episode, we are talking about how to find your passion. Now, it is something that I've hit on many different times and have kind of hinted about, but I wanted to dedicate a podcast to this so I can reference others to this particular podcast and finding passion and the abilities it takes to find that passion. Now, if you go back in my life, in my story, and I've related a lot of different aspects of my life to try to help you guys navigate and find perspective and tools that help you essentially ignite the change that you want in your life. Now, being said, finding passion is something I talk about all the time, and finding passion isn't always easy because a lot of times, even myself, even if you go back just 5, 6, 7 years ago, finding passion, I really didn't know what passion was. I always just assumed that I would eventually find it just by going to work, uh, getting my degree in computer science eventually, because the work I was doing before I didn't enjoy at all. I got pleasure out of it and I enjoyed my craft, but to me, there was more. There's something more I wanted to do, and so I got into programming, realizing that was always a kind of a passion of mine. Just to create things was a big passion of mine, and so I was doing that. But I found that when you do it for somebody else, it's not the same. That passion really isn't there because you're following someone else's vision to creating something. Now, that being said, I was lucky enough to have a position that I was able to create my own vision and essentially had free will to do what I wanted to do. And being said, that essentially inspired me to want to do more and to become an entrepreneur and to do more that way, and finding the passion and realizing that passion changes along the way. It's not something that is always one thing. Yes, there's some things I'm always passionate about, like working out and trying to be healthy is something I'm always passionate about. I like working out. I like the way it makes me feel. I like the way I can think clearly. All these things, they matter to me. And I know what the opposite of it is, and realize I know what I'm missing out when I don't do it. And so that is really what passion is if it's not in your life anymore, you're going to really miss it. You're going to want it. You're going to desire it in your life. And you, again, an easier thing to relate to is a relationship, right? If you're passionate about somebody, right, you want to spend as much time with that person. But being said, when you're talking about purpose, you're talking about passion for something, right? And realize that your purpose will change in time, and realize that for me, it has changed a couple different times. I pursued computer science. I got the programming job. I was enjoying a lot of the things I was doing. Then I started getting into some other stuff that I did enjoy, but it really wasn't what I wanted to do. And that's why I went in the whole entrepreneurial route, and realizing that I have a lot more freedom now. I have a lot more responsibility too, but also understand that finding passion, I've learned that being curious about different things, and you have to have exposure to a multitude of different things. And this is why I always bring up Leonardo da Vinci, because he's always been in my mind lately because of the way he essentially lived his life. Right, he was an engineer, he was an artist, he did multiple different things. He was never really truly a master of one thing. Yes, you can say he was a master of art, but so he was in science, in mechanics, and the things that he did was designing. Right, an architect, he designed, the first flying machine. He designed all stuff way ahead of anybody. And considering that, it's because of the passion. It's because of just being curious and doing it and realizing, we push so hard at being one dimensional. You have to focus on one thing and just do that one thing. But you realize that when you branch out and you're curious, you learn about other things that help you with any kind of problem that may arise in whatever particular thing you're working on. So if it is art, maybe you get inspired by some kind of architecture, or maybe you get inspired by nature, or maybe you get inspired while you're doing architecture by something else that you're doing. Maybe you were playing some sort of sport, maybe it was soccer, right? And then you were at some particular soccer location that had a particular architecture that inspired you, right? And realize that going through these experiences, and as much as you can get out there, you realize that it makes a bigger difference than you would think it actually does, and how it translates into other things that you do in your life. And realize if you're trying to like gain momentum and stuff like that, when you follow this curiosity and you're going out and experiencing things, you find how this stuff starts meshing together. And a lot of times you'll go and you're trying to hammer down on this one thing, but you're coming at it with one perspective. And when you're always trying to hammer down, you don't make any progress because you're not taking that step back. And again, when you relate it back to Leonardo da Vinci's story, there are many times where he started a painting and he would just leave for days on end and people wouldn't know where he was, and he'd be doing something completely different to help his mind essentially wander and be curious. And then he would come back and then he would paint for days on end. So being said, this is the way you live life. This is the way you find passion, is partly intuition, in listening to that voice, listening to that feeling, right? Some people use intuition, that gut feeling, or that feeling that you can essentially call it from the heart, right? And realize that by following that, you really thoroughly start finding things that you are passionate about. And then you start pursuing it and you learn more about it. And for myself, over the past past month or so, I really started getting into NFTs a lot. And I don't even know if I've even talked about for my love for art is always I've always had a love for art since I was a kid. I remember used to taking my old video game magazines and drawing out Sonic the Hedgehog and Mario and everything, just to try to get the lines right, and try. I used to copy every one of them. Every new magazine that come out, that have some new cartoon on it, or a new essentially drawing on it, and I would try to draw it, and I would draw it over and over and over till I could draw it without actually copying the image. And this has really helped me develop my artistic skill, although throughout the years I really kind of let it drop off, because I remember my art teacher telling me, I think it was like in 6th grade, that you need to be a digital designer. And in my mind I was like, well, there's no, how can I make a living? Because that's what I was always taught, like you can't make a living off that stuff. And so I kind of just let it die, although I always picked it up on and off throughout the years, and I always try to improve it in some way, shape, or form. And I can always pick up where I last left off. But the case is now I start getting into NFTs, and I have this newfound like passion, desire to want to do it and start doing more artistic things because of what that platform allows me to do, and realize the potential it has and what I could potentially do with it to start bringing up my artistic ability again, and use it in ways that help inspire other people, help improve people. And especially if you want to start really getting into it and start talking about multiverse stuff and all that kind of stuff, right? You realize that people, they pick things because it makes them feel emotional in some way, shape, or form. And when you start talking about NFTs, you can look at this in any video game. People wear particular clothes or skins or whatever the case is because there's an emotional tie to it. And so when you start talking about that, and well, I can code, and I also have an artistic hand. What can I do to be able to draw that emotion out of someone? If the metaverse is the next biggest thing, what can I use? And so that passion that has reignited from a long time ago, it hasn't completely died out. It's always kind of been there, but you realize that throughout the way, because I started following up and researching more about NFTs, it's kind of just led this way and led this desire to essentially almost just drop everything and start doing that, because I truly like the community I'm around and the people you're around. And you realize that I wouldn't know that if I wasn't curious. I wouldn't know that if I didn't follow up. I wouldn't know that if, after the day when I was tired, I didn't follow up and try to read something about it, and then follow up and really ask like 5 whys deep. What exactly is this thing? What exactly is happening here? And actually realizing and try forward looking does help, and stop thinking that what the things in your past are going to limit what could potentially happen in the future. And so when I started looking at things in the past, right, and thinking that I couldn't do anything with my artistic skill, and now thinking, oh, like, wow, I got so much potential here. And being an artist nowadays, you really have, I think, the benefit of the doubt moving forward from this point, because so much stuff is generated off of creativity and being creative, and how you express that, and do people get joy out of that and enjoy your pursuit of art and all these different things. So finding passion is not something you're just going to find. Like I said, there were many different times where I had different passions in my life. There was a time in my life where I had a passion for just working out and wanting to be a professional bodybuilder, and that's all I did. I just lived, eat, and slept nothing but bodybuilding for many years, and I really enjoyed it. Now, for some people, people may not enjoy that, but that was my passion at that time. And then realized that this now is my passion with NFTs, and that the passion, you will find passion in different things. Some things will stay. Like, I still love to work out. I always have to work out. I feel great when I work out, and it is part of my day that I need. And I feel the difference if I don't have that day. Even days where I have to rest, I'm like, man, I really wish I could I want to go out and run. I can't just not do anything. I have to go out and run, walk, or do something, as opposed to just sitting down. So being said, finding passion is a big thing, is being curious and going out and experiencing things, and living it to its fullest. And I know there are a lot of things that I've tried that I really didn't enjoy. And you have to realize that's going to happen. You don't just try something, oh, this sounds really good, and then you start getting into it and you don't enjoy it. There were many different things. I'm trying to recall the latest thing. One thing I started doing was looking at coins. I was like, because if you find older coins, essentially, some of them are worth a lot of money, like your older quarters and stuff. They may have a particular mint on it that is very rare. So that 25 cents is actually, maybe a couple hundred, couple $1,000s. And so that was interesting to me, and I was curious about it. I wanted to learn more. So I started reading up and doing some research on it, started getting into it a little bit. And I was like, nah, you know what? This isn't something I really want to do. But I realized that it wasn't. And I kind of just listened to myself on that front, like, the amount of time, right? And it goes back to, how do you want to spend your time? And I started thinking about it like, do I really want to look at every single quarter and define the details? Some people do. Some people really thoroughly enjoy that, and they have passion in that. Me, myself, I had passion for about maybe a couple days, and then it was like, this isn't really something I like doing. This more, I like doing crypto or stocks or NFTs more. So my focus should be there. And this is one thing to remember, is that you'll have multiple passions in your life, but you want to keep it limited to some specific. It's not saying you can't drop one off and add a new passion. Maybe you enjoy wakeboarding, and then one day you wake up, you're like, I don't really feel like doing wakeboarding anymore. So I pick up a new, different passion through other experiences. Maybe I try different classes, and I realized that maybe I want to become an instructor as opposed to wakeboarding now. And so I put and dedicate my time to that. And it is this pursuit, and realize that we are continuously changing. And there's nothing wrong with that. It's just our natural mentality to want stuff to change. Because if stuff is always the same, well, we get bored and we just don't enjoy it. And that's not saying everything will get boring. Like, there are certain things in my life that I do that are not boring. Like, working out is not boring. It sucks sometimes, but it's not boring. Like, overall, I still really thoroughly enjoy working out. I still really thoroughly going out there and challenging myself, going to the gym, throwing on weight, trying to still, like, perfect my physique in the way a bodybuilder would. And so in that fashion, right, I still always have that bodybuilding eye, because I love the sport, because it was something that I wanted to do, and I still have passion for it. So instead of going out and competing, because I didn't want to go on crash diets and do all that kind of thing, I wanted to do something else than just doing that, because that takes a massive amount of discipline and everything else. and dedication to do that. And it has to be, that's one of those things that you can only do that, maybe like one or two other things, maybe just one thing. And that's about it, because it dedicates so much of your life, because again, you got to watch everything you're eating and everything else. There's just a lot to it. You got to make sure you're getting the right amount of sleep. You can't just be up all night trying to build a business or something like that. You have to, there's a lot of different intricacies about it that you have to pay attention to. And some passions are like that, some are not. Some you can push it to that extreme when you don't need it to be that much. It's really what you want to get out of it. And any passion is that way. Again, some outweighing others, but realizing that multiple passions is what's going to happen, and over time you'll gain some and you'll lose some. And again, like I said, one day you might wake up and there might be one particular passion you're just not passionate about. But if you are, again, starting out and don't know, read some books, read different books about the subject, and see if it's really something, because there are a lot of different times I've actually thought about, ooh, that would be kind of interesting. And so I started reading about it, and then, essentially my focus on the subject dropped dramatically. Like, this isn't really what I want to do. And I feel I'm not really feeling it at all. But I wouldn't know that, because initially my first thought was, I think I would really enjoy this. And then come to find out, once you start doing the research and learning more about it and getting more than just surface level, because sometimes you got to get a little bit more than surface level to really understand it. And then realizing, well, this is something I really like to do. And then again, you branch off into other different things that are very interesting, that draw you in, that motivate you to want to do something more, to take more action on whatever it is. Maybe you find out that you could cook and you never knew you could cook, and then you get more into it, and then you start learning, well, maybe I'll start copying some recipes, and you're like, well, maybe I should just start creating my own recipes. And then you start just drifting off in that way, right? It's just finding passion and going with it, giving it a chance, and then seeing if it builds up. And again, it depends what it is. It depends on the dedication you may need, but realize that you should always be dedicating every single day to learning something about that thing that you're curious about, and trying to develop it, not outgoing, right? Because I think that's one of the biggest things too, is a lot of times we don't want to, right? We want to be hermits, right? And so we don't want to go out and experience new things, right? We just like our regular schedule, and we don't like too much to deviate from that. And depending on your schedule, if you have kids or anything like that, yes, it can be very hard to try to do that, to try to deviate, but it is important that you spend some time, maybe it's 10, 15, 20 minutes a day, learning about whatever it is to pursue the things that you want, and realize that some things will be difficult. Like trading, for me, you have to realize that there's essentially a toll you have to pay to get to where you are a profitable trader. And so, being said, to even do that, you're going to go through many ups and downs, and you have to realize that the learning curve is much more difficult than some other things. And so you have to learn that, you have to navigate that. Again, everything comes with its level of difficulty, but take it, look back at it and say, can I really live with this out in my life right now? When you go that 5 whys deep, you realize what it's truly about. So when you experience it and live it, is this something I want to just get rid of? Is a question you need to be asking yourself. And if it's no, then you need to continue to pursue it as much as possible, and then allow yourself to do that, and allow yourself to thoroughly engross yourself in it, and go out there and be involved with it, and get involved in communities. Like even NFTs, like I realized where it was going, right? I realized that it's eventually ultimately trying to be morphed into the metasphere, right? It's eventually trying to be morphed into the metaverse, and realizing that there is a difference there. But that's a couple years down the road. But still, even still, we are almost close to that next level, which is essentially almost gaming, and realizing that the gaming aspect of it is just trying to incorporate how you would interact with the world. And then once that correlation between NFTs and games and stuff is established, then you take that and then you essentially plump that into the metaverse. So there is almost a zero difference as to what happens in the metaverse to what happens in reality. And realizing that to be able to do that, you need that bridge, that game to get you to that next level. And that way you're interacting with stuff in and outside of the metaverse, and realizing that there is, again, no difference. And so, being said, and getting in this community, and the community being so tight knit, and everybody is very dedicated and driven to want to do more, and it's really interesting the people you meet along the way when you live this way, and you're pursuing different things. Again, it opens up perspective to allow you to see different things, because a lot of times, I talk about all the time about how we think our options are always limited. It's only limited because of the knowledge that you have and the network that you have. It's when you go out and experience different things, or reach out and talk to different people, or provide a skill that allows you to get you in front of different people, you realize that these people are people that can help you out and help you achieve the dreams that you want. And then that's when it starts getting really exciting, and thinking, man, that the artistic skill I really didn't think I had is actually could become something more. And it's what is really interesting, what I really like about it, again, because you don't know, you're not going to just know your purpose. Nobody knows their purpose. We know things that we like, and we have clues on the things that may be of interest to us, but we never pursue, because a lot of times we're too tired. And I've been there. You get home and you're just too tired. You don't want to think. And especially I can even go back to when I was in telecommunications. It's a very laborious job. And then come home, your brain is pretty much toast. Your body is toast. Your brain is toast. You don't want to do a whole heck of a lot. And you really have to want it. You really have to push yourself to go out and do more. For me, it was to go out and continue to work out a couple hours after the fact, because I wanted to be a bodybuilder, and realize that even at that point, I had to push myself hard because I was so exhausted. And then to come home and just go straight to the gym. There were many days where I just had to come home, get changed, walk right back out the door. Didn't even give myself the time to just sit down, and realize that's what you have to do sometimes. Because a lot of times we can just sit and we can veg, and then minutes turn into hours, and hours turn into half your day, and then you wonder where your time goes. It's because we're not managing what is the most crucial thing that we have, which is our time, and where it's being allocated. And realize that if you can do this, you have more control over your day, which will allow you to pursue those things that you really want to get in life. And so you do need to look at your day, see where your time is going. Again, if you have kids, I realize you're in very much a time constraint. And if you're homeschooling, it's even more difficult. But you do need to provide yourself some time during the day to be able to do this, some time during the day to be able to pursue these things, and realize that they can bloom into bigger things. There's other stories out there about people that are, maybe it was a stay-at-home mom or dad, and that they're pursuing other things when the kids are at school, and then realizing that, man, I'm able to develop a business. Now this business can support the whole family, and now my wife doesn't have to do that. She can quit her job, and we can build this thing out, this business together, because it's already expanded so much, and we have the flexibility that we want. We have all these other things that we truly want in life, and realize that you don't need to follow the regular 9 to 5. You don't need to do any of the stuff that other people are telling you. You really need to ask, what's driving you to do the things that you're doing today? Is it the fancy car you couldn't afford? Is it the house you couldn't afford? What is it? Eliminate those things and realize, well, I'm going to take a step back. You may lose some friends, because a lot of people are very much gauged on the possessions you have, essentially determine the person that you are. And so realizing that being said, you separate yourself, you lose friends, you gain new friends, you gain a community of people that care for what you're passionate about, and you stay with those people. And you realize that here's, you want to talk about, pursue your purpose brings happiness. I don't believe that. Happiness is a state of mind that comes and goes. And depending on what happens in your life, it's going to fluctuate. They're going to have seasons. All these different things happen all the time because of the fact that you are, again, pursuing different things. And again, when you pursue different things, again, some things will fail, some things won't. And you can't beat yourself up for those things that fail, and take things in stride when those things that do work out, and realize the true potential that is there. But ultimately understand that, if there is anything you can do, is to dedicate that time to yourself. Never not let a time in your life pass by where you are not pursuing something you want to. And for myself, there are many years, many years, where I wanted to pursue certain things. I wanted to get in real estate. I wanted to get more into the investing side. I wanted to do stocks when I was in my early 20s. I wanted to do all those things, but I had nobody there. And I thought I had to have somebody there. And I think that's what the biggest roadblock along the way is. I just don't follow it myself. And it's when I ignited that instinct to be like, okay, well, no one's just going to show up and then that's going to happen. I have to go do it. I have to pursue it, and realize that in the pursuing of it, right, I'll uncover all these other different things that I start becoming passionate about. Again, you'll drop some stuff, you'll gain some stuff, you'll perhaps pick 3 things out of the 5 things over here, carry that over to something else. And you realize that by doing this, you live a much fulfilled life. And I think, again, another big reason why I always bring up Leonardo da Vinci, because he lived a full life. He did everything he wanted to do. He did everything he found passion in. And I believe those things that he didn't have passion in, he didn't keep around, but he always came back to those things that really drew his interest. And again, when you're searching, finding, and going with different passions in your life, again, they all intermingle and they make this state of happiness that people seek, and realize that it's only a temporary state, and it fluctuates again along the pursuit of your purpose, and finding flow, whatever you want to call it, is this pursuit, is going out and enjoying life and living life to the fullest. And for, again, many years, I did not do that. For many years, I lived on the assumption that things would just naturally get better. But it was my doing, my curiosity, my exploration, my exploring, the networks that I've come across, the different people I've come across, and how it's morphed things for the better, and how I've been able to enjoy my life even more because of that. And again, bringing up old passions that I once had as a kid, today was something that could actually work and do extremely well, which is amazing. And to think that when I look back in my life, all the other passions that I've had, that I've pursued, you don't really know how life is going to be. And you look back and everything, all the puzzle pieces kind of fall in line how they should, to get you essentially where you wanted to ultimately be. But you didn't realize that until further down the line. And so, being said, pursue your passion. It doesn't matter what it is. Be curious, go out there, use your ability, your natural ability, your naturally gifted ability to be curious and follow it and do it and be adjustable. And I'm telling you, the state of happiness that everybody talks about, you can find it, you can live it, more so when you continue to stay with it. You just have to stay with it.